The story begins with Akira Tachibana, who is currently working at a cafe restaurant named Garden, operated by her manager Masami Kondo, a 45-year-old who Tachibana apparently has a crush on. Her coworkers say that Kondo is quite pathetic because he keeps apologizing to the customers. Tachibana takes her break in the office and finds a boy doing his schoolwork. That boy is Kondo's son Yudo. The news of Kondo having a son comes as a shock to her, but she is relieved after learning that he is a divorcee. Tachibana teaches Yudo to play his recorder outside the restaurant. The next day she meets her former track club teammate Haruka at school, and they talk about the upcoming tournament. On her break, Tachibana finds Kondo's shirt hanging on a chair, and remembers the first time she visited the restaurant. On a rainy day, Kondo treated her kindly with a free cup of coffee and a magic trick. She takes Kondo's shirt and sniffs it with some kind of nostalgia, until Kondo comes back and sees her sniffing the shirt. Tachibana awkwardly puts it back and sits to finish her break, blushing in front of Kondo. Later that day, Kondo introduces a new part-timer named Yoshizawa, Tachibana's classmate, on whom Yui instantly develops a crush. It is a slow day at the cafe, so Yui asks Tachibana to name things that make her heart flutter to pass the time. While Tachibana is thinking, she sees Kondo and quickly changes the subject. A customer forgets his cell phone, so Tachibana informs Kondo, who tries to get the customer's attention. He is unsuccessful because the customer is riding a bike, so he decides to wait for him to come back, but Tachibana runs after the customer and is able to catch up to him. Walking back, she collapses in pain. Kondo takes her to a nearby clinic to get her ankle checked. Here it is revealed that she had an injury on her ankle previously, which is also the reason why she quit the track team. Leaving early, Tachibana recalls the day's events. Kondo calls Tachibana that night asking if she's alright. The next day, Kondo visits to apologize to Tachibana's mother regarding the previous day's incident. Since her mother wasn't home, they visit a nearby cafe. There, Tachibana inadvertently confesses, but Kondo misinterprets this as general affection rather than love. She dreams about the previous day's events and questions whether she should have worded her confession differently. As Tachibana heads home from school, a track team member notices her and persuades her to come to the field. As Tachibana watches from afar, she remembers when she was part of the team and abruptly prepares to leave. The track team offers to eat at the family restaurant where Tachibana works, but she curtly declines, only to backtrack, explaining it is too far. As she leaves, it starts raining. Tachibana reminisces on how she injured her ankle doing track and how she eventually met Kondo. Meanwhile, Kondo goes out for a smoke just as Tachibana walks up to the restaurant. He tries to get her to come inside, but she confesses again and walks away. Kondo stands in the doorway, shocked. The next day, Tachibana is back to work as her usual self, and Kondo wonders whether the previous night was a prank or dream. After work, Kondo drives Tachibana to the train station and tries to convince her to reconsider her feelings. Tachibana speaks to Kondo about his suggestion that she should go on a date with him to see how incompatible the two are. Kondo tries to explain that he was only speaking hypothetically, but she continues to press for a date, and he agrees. Meanwhile, Tachibana's coworker named Case fantasizes about having her as his girlfriend. Unwittingly, she allows him to read one of her school textbooks, and he discovers doodles revealing her interest in Kondo. Case agrees to keep her secret, but only if she goes on a date with him. Though both dates take place in identical venues, Tachibana finds her date with Case revolting, while her date with Kondo is perfect. Case suggests Tachibana give up her pursuit of Kondo and date someone her own age instead. After their date, Kondo returns to the restaurant, convinced Tachibana did not have a good time. The next day, Yudo shows the restaurant staff his new hamster and reveals that he plans to walk home alone. The staffs protest this, so Tachibana volunteers to walk him to Kondo's apartment when her shift ends. Kondo is not at home when they arrive, so Tachibana cooks Yudo a meal and he tells her about his dad's interest in literature. When Kondo returns, Yudo suggests Tachibana surprise him and she hides in a closet. Kondo agrees to care for the hamster and Tachibana bursts from the closet, collapsing from the heat. Yudo tries to pour her a drink but trips and spills it on her shirt instead. Kondo loans her one of his t-shirts and walks to the laundromat. When it starts to rain, Tachibana and Yudo brings Kondo an umbrella and she expresses her desire to know Kondo more. The restaurant staff goof off talking with Kondo about the hamster, and Kondo, feeling accepted by his staff for the first time, allows this. Tachibana angrily puts everyone back to work and tells Kondo that he can come to her in the future if he needs help with the hamster. Later, Haruka sees Tachibana hanging out with Yui and reminisces on how they came to attend the same high school. Tachibana overhears two girls discussing a rumor that having the rare character of a keychain series can bring you closer to the one you like. She goes to a dispenser but fails to pull the rare character. Haruka interrupts and the two travel together a while. Haruka reminisces on how she and Tachibana got into running. Later, Haruka gets the secret character and she gives it to Tachibana along with a note about their friendship. Tachibana decides to check out some literature books and runs into Kondo at the library. She asks if he can recommend any books, but Kondo explains that she should try to find a book she's interested in instead. Kondo finds a book by someone he's familiar with and his demeanor noticeably dampens. Tachibana checks it out for him along with a couple of books for herself. At the restaurant, the staff discuss the possibility of organizing a group chat, while Kondo reads about the book he borrowed in some off time. Tachibana contemplates asking Kondo whether they can text, but asks about the book instead. He explains that it was written by a friend. Tachibana is impressed by this, but Kondo despondently dismisses her. Later, Tachibana's mother tries to convince her to call off work due to an incoming typhoon, but she refuses. To Tachibana's disappointment, Kondo is absent, having caught a cold. On her break, Case joins Tachibana in the office and tells her that she should stop pursuing Kondo, explaining that her advances are obviously problematic for him. After work, Tachibana walks through the typhoon to Kondo's apartment and he lets her inside. Tachibana asks if it is problematic that she loves him, but Kondo emphatically denies this and embraces her as a friend. The next day, Tachibana is absent from work, having caught a cold. Even so, she fantasizes about her embrace with Kondo. At the restaurant, Kondo pointedly reminds Tachibana that they are just friends. Yoshizawa laments over Kondo's criticism of his hair, so Yui offers to cut it for him, explaining that she has some skill as she wants to become a hairdresser. Yoshizawa enthusiastically agrees, but Yui confides in Tachibana that she is not as skilled a hairdresser as she did claimed and only wanted a chance to be with Yoshizawa. Recalling her experiences with Kondo, Tachibana encourages Yui not to give up on her romantic pursuit. That evening, Tachibana tells Kondo that since they're friends, she wants to text with him. Meanwhile, Haruka encounters the former captain of the school's soccer team named Yamamoto, and runs off when the conversation shifts to Tachibana. When he tries to follow, Haruka realizes the true reason he gave up his role as team captain was because of a knee injury. She confides in him her fear that Tachibana does not want to return, but he assures her from personal experience that is not the case. Tachibana and Kondo discuss her homework on the Rashomon short story, what they thought of the servant's decision, and what they would do in his situation. Later that night, Tachibana invites Haruka to a festival. They bond at the festival, but Tachibana's attention is diverted when she sees Kondo, who is attending the festival with his son. Haruka deduces Tachibana's feelings, but Tachibana refuses to talk about it. So she accuses Tachibana of causing the rift in their relationship, and Tachibana explains that it is because things cannot be as they were. This hurts Haruka's feelings, who then leaves the festival in tears. Kondo walks to a restaurant he used to visit in college and meets an old classmate named Chihiro. The two discuss the book of Chihiro's that Kondo borrowed from the library and the time when they were still college students. Kondo admits to secretly continuing his writing hobby in his spare time. Haruka continues to avoid Tachibana at school and at the restaurant. Kondo asks why Tachibana seems down, so she explains her situation with Haruka, and Kondo reminds Tachibana of the supermoon in the sky that night. He tells her about his meeting with Chihiro and explains that in the same way she too could grow close to her friend again, even if they are currently growing apart. So Tachibana wishes for it on the supermoon. She stumbles across an ad for a secondhand book fair and invites Kondo to come help recommend books for her. Kondo runs into a familiar bookstore owner, and the two tell Tachibana the story of the world's shortest letter. Kondo gets carried away and disappears, so Tachibana texts him and they correspond in the same way. Meanwhile, Haruka feels the weight of separation between her and Tachibana. Tachibana visits the clinic and is told that her injury has completely healed. Despite this, she expresses no interest in undergoing rehab to return to track and field. Kondo sees Chihiro in a TV interview and remembers how his relationship with writing was once the same as his friend's, yet it put him on a different path. Kondo and Tachibana discover a bookmark with the silhouette of a swallow in a book she'd gotten at the book fair. He recalls a swallow's nest that was once outside the restaurant, and Tachibana wonders what would happen to a swallow that could not leave the nest. Kondo answers that by saying while some happiness may be found in choosing to stay behind, the swallow would forever look to the sky. Tachibana tells Kondo she hopes he will return to writing novels and that she looks forward to reading whatever he writes. At track practice, Haruka learns that Nanhai's Kurata recently set a personal best in the 100-meter race despite suffering the same injury as Tachibana, so she refuses to give up on her friend. Meanwhile, Tachibana submits her November shift request, but Kondo is reluctant to accept it because she'd be spending most of her free time working at the restaurant. Haruka shows up to Tachibana's work and asks her to return to track and field, confronting her with Kurata's story. Kondo hears one of Chihiro's books is being made into a film, and Chihiro shows up to Kondo's apartment unannounced. The two bond over coffee and writing exercises, and Kondo congratulates Chihiro about the film. but he reveals that he hates his novel and only wrote it because he believed it would be popular. Kondo claims he cannot go back to how he used to write, but Chihiro says that Kondo just will not, so that night he starts writing again. The next day Kondo asks Tachibana again if there's really nothing else she'd rather do. She angrily insists that there's nothing else he wants. Haruka decides it was a mistake to visit Tachibana at the restaurant. Meanwhile, Tachibana nearly throws away her school's career path survey, but at the last moment decides against it. Kondo has made frequent visits to the head office recently, so some of the staff suggest he may be promoted. As Yui cuts Yoshizawa's hair, he asks how she decided to become a hairdresser. Yui confesses that Yoshizawa was the one who inspired her, and he encourages her not to give up on her choice. Meanwhile, Kondo continues to spend his nights writing. Haruka remembers the first time she and Tachibana saw Kazuhai and how they promised to do track together. Back at the restaurant, Tachibana finds Yuto in the office during her break, and he asks her to teach him to run for his PE class, having promised his dad to keep running until he crossed the finish line. Kondo thanks Tachibana and reveals that he also made a promise to continue writing. He asks if perhaps she too made a promise that she's neglecting. As Tachibana reminisces over photos with Haruka, she looks over a guide to rehabilitation. Kondo announces his recent visits were about a new restaurant menu and that he must return to the head office. He forgets his binder, so Tachibana leaves the restaurant to take it to him. While Kondo is preoccupied by a phone call, Tachibana turns back to return to the restaurant, but Kondo calls after her, and she sprints towards him. After they embrace, Kondo and Tachibana agree to inform each other when they have fulfilled their promises. Tachibana texts Haruka her desire to return to track, and the two reconcile. Afterwards, Kondo and Tachibana vow not to forget one another, and Kondo collects the manuscript of his latest novel, After the Rain. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Also turn on notifications so you don't miss out on another video. Until next time, farewell.